It's telling us that the economy is getting weaker. Unemployment will be 6.5% instead of 6.25%. They think that'll be the peak. It's still just possible for Tony Abbott on the maths to achieve that goal of 2 million jobs in 10 years, but hey, in 10 years, who knows? Meantime, employment is increasing more slowly than it really should. Also, we have very low wage growth, and how the government at various times with its own workforce has been pushing for low wage growth, but is not helping the budget. As well as that, there's the tremendous collapse in commodity prices. The really round figures are down from an estimate of around $90 a tonne at the time of the budget, down from that assumption to around $60 a tonne, a cut obviously of 1/3. Now that feeds through enormously into government revenue. So we have a weakening economy, not necessarily anyone's fault. A lot of it's from outside of Australia, a lot of it's from inside Australia. In fact, Australians have been responsible for the iron ore price falling by producing so much. What it means is that government revenue has fallen sharply. Over the next 4 years, $43 billion will be missing. The budget's deteriorating that much. To give an idea, looking year by year, this year we were going to have, these are round terms, a deficit of 30 billion. We're going to have 40. In 2 years' time, 2016, the deficit was going to be down to around 10 billion. Now it's down to around 20 billion. These are very big changes. Now, because of assumptions about how things will improve over time, assumptions that spending will grow very slowly, he's able to push out the estimated date for the return to surplus by only 1 year, from 2018-19 to 2019-20. But again, that's so far in the future, it's hard to tell what will really happen.
Is that believable?
The Treasury itself makes the point that these figures aren't believable. If I could hold up to the camera, I'd...
Well, I don't know if we've got enough personnel on to zoom in.
What they've done, just imagine it if you like, for their forecasts, instead of using graphs for the out years, they use graphs and then they use what they call a fan chart, where it just widens out based on, they're really saying anything within a very broad range is likely. Also, for forecasts, they assume that over time, employment goes to what they believe is its natural rate of around 5%, the unemployment. They assume that GDP goes to its long-term trend of around 3%. That's actually the basis for making the forecasts, is an assumption that things will return to normal.
Including the whole international economic system.
Yeah, although they're not quite with the international thing. That's more of an Australian thing. With the international thing, they're assuming that Chinese growth goes below 7% for the first time since the boom. It'd be 6.5% and 6.75%. They're assuming that iron ore stays at the new low price. So internationally, they're not doing that, but within Australia, given the international environment, they're assuming things return to normal. Now, things never exactly return to normal.
While you were delving deep into those numbers, I was listening to the press conference. Joe Hockey started by saying that over the last 12 months, the Australian economy has strengthened. Economic growth has risen from 1.9 to 2.7%. Export volume has increased and jobs growth has been strong. Is he gilding the lily?
Yes. You can say, as he has, what's happened over the last 12 months, but divide it into two halves. The first half year and the second half year. We did see strong employment growth in the first half year. We have not seen it since. We did see very impressive economic growth in the first half year. We certainly haven't seen it since. So the trend is the other way, if you like. So in that way, he's gilding the lily.
Okay, now the Treasurer has said that tax revenue has, I'm not sure collapse was the word he used, but has certainly shrunk. $6.2 billion this year, $32 billion over the next 4 years. he looks at company tax there and income tax. However, he says the government isn't going to try and recoup any of those sort of tax. He's going to kind of use it as a shock absorber.
That's right.
And on spending, when some people might call for stimulating the economy, he's saying, well, hold spending where it is, but make sure it's better spent, better targeted. Does that all kind of make sense to you as far as managing the economy?
The two are somewhat in conflict, actually. The first idea of the shock absorber is exactly standard economic management. When things are going south, you don't push them further south, okay? So you don't cut spending to try and make the budget look good. But he's saying, on the other hand, that if they do have any new measures in here, and they've got new measures since the budget to do with defence, to do with heightened security arrangement and so on, that they'll be paid for. Probably both of them are quite sensible, both of them are conservative, and both of them in some way reflect sort of good economic management. Now, it may be that what the economy needs is a big dose of spending, a big dose of stimulus, but he's not doing that. He's just going so far as to say, I at least won't make things worse.